You may proceed, sir.
Lewis Van, the Chief Electrical Inspector of Richmond County, doesn't think reconnect inspections are necessary. And because he didn't think they were necessary, he just chose not to inspect a 1972 Fleetwood trailer that was rotten and dilapidated. But that the other defendant, Marshall Taylor, decided to rent two teenagers for $250 a month. Marshall Taylor doesn't think trailers should have a smoke detector in them. He doesn't think that he should hire an electrician to properly wire a kitchen light and put a 5-cent plastic wire net on there. He just lets the trailer sit there, collect dust, and rot. And you look at this trailer park, it's got rotten, abandoned, dilapidated, deteriorated trailers sitting all around this trailer. Now, under Georgia law, a landlord has a duty to properly maintain the premises that he is renting to other people. And one of those rules is, if he's going to rent a trailer, he has to put a smoke detector in there to make sure if somebody's in there and they're asleep and it catches on fire, that they'll wake up in time. Another rule in this case that's important is the 180-day rule. And that's a Public Service Commission rule from the state of Georgia that applies in every county, every 159 counties in Georgia. And it says this: a power company, because it sells a dangerous, deadly product called electricity, which is basically fire in a can. It gets out, it'll shock your burning. They have to get the local jurisdiction to inspect a dwelling, such as a house or a trailer, before power can be hooked up and turned on to that dwelling. The way Richmond County, Georgia carries out this PSC rule is they've enacted a local ordinance that also says service utilities cannot be hooked up to a dwelling unless and until it's been inspected and approved by the building official. And under the particular circumstances that we have in this case, the rule is if power's been off at an existing dwelling for 6 months or more, called the 180-day rule, power cannot be cut on there unless it's been inspected. If a dwelling has been vacant for 6 months or more in Richmond County, and the power company gets a call to turn on the power, they are prohibited from turning it on until the city inspects the dwelling and faxes them a certification that says it's clear, turn it on. Now, let me tell you about the story of this case. Ryan was an 18-year-old soccer star at Harlem High School. He had a really pretty girlfriend. Her name was Michelle Borah. She was a year and a half older than him. At the end of 2006, they graduated. He was 18, she was 20. And they went to the prom together. Beautiful picture, and I'll show that to you. They were so happy. They were in love. Everybody at the school loved them. They were a popular couple. They decided they wanted to start their life together. And so they moved out from their parents' home and they began looking for a place to live. They wanted to start their life together. Hopefully we're going to get married and have kids. And so they looked in the paper and they saw an ad for a trailer for rent for $250. And they're poor. They don't have any money. They're like, that's pretty cheap. We might be able to afford that. So they get in the car and they drive on over, and lo and behold, right behind that trailer park is a huge soccer complex. And Ryan's like, this is it, because he's about to start at Augusta State University. He's going to play soccer again. He's been playing since he was a little boy. So they take a look at the trailer, and I mean, it's run down. It's 40, 30-some years old, but they decide, we can clean this up. We can do it. We can do it. So they get their parents to help clean it up, and finally, call power company. The power company says, well, your mama's got to call because you're not old enough. We got to get a deposit from her. So mama calls, Helen calls and says, I'd like to hook up power at 346 Buck Road, Lot D. And they say, well, hold on, let me check. No, we can't turn it on right here, the 180-day rule. It's been too late without power. It's been disconnected for 6 months. You got to get it inspected. And they're like, well, am I supposed to take care of that? And they say, no, just call the county and they'll handle it. So Helen calls the county and they say, yeah, we got to go inspect that trailer, so we'll come out there and do it. Next thing that happens is the guy who's in charge of doing reconnect inspections on trailers, there's about 5 of them that do reconnect inspections. One of them in particular does trailers. He wasn't in that day. We don't know why. So Lewis Van, the chief electrical inspector, he gets assigned to do this inspection. Well, Lewis goes out to the site, allegedly. Nobody's out there. He doesn't talk to the landlord. He doesn't talk to Ryan or Michelle. He doesn't even open the door to go in the trailer, even though it's unlocked, because it's a piece of junk. The landlord never locks any of the trailers. They're basically rat holes. He just leaves a tag on the door that says, "I've been here from Richmond County. I'm an inspector. Just call me back and we'll set up an appointment." Well, that's not all he did though. He went back to his office and he filled out the form that said, "I inspected this trailer," and he faxed it to Georgia Power. That was the green light for the power company to come turn on power to the trailer, even though he didn't inspect it. Well, the power company comes out there, the lineman does, Gregory Booker, and the first thing he sees, that meter right there has been tampered with. I'm not turning this on. It was visible evidence of meter tampering from a power meter outside the trailer, connected to the trailer, that you could see from 40 to 50 feet away, according to the landlord's brother. It had a jiffy lock on it from a meter tampering incident a year ago where the last tenant that lived there was a criminal, was stealing power. He pulled it out, turned the meter upside down, and was getting free juice. Well, back then, the power company came out there and they did an investigation for meter tampering. They locked it off, and then the guy hightailed it because they were going to call the police. In any event, well, the meter's still broken and it's got a jiffy lock on it. So the power man says, "I'm not cutting this on." He calls the landlord and says, "You got to fix this. It's not safe. I'm not going to turn it on until you do." So the landlord, the slumlord, Mr. Taylor over there, who don't want to pay for anything, he doesn't call an electrician to come make sure this is a safe receptacle for the conduct of electricity. He bangs on it with a hammer and calls back, "I got it fixed. It's shut down." Next day, power company comes out. They turn it on. Michelle and Ryan don't know anything about this. They're not out there when it happens. They move in. They're so happy. They're there on October 3rd. They're there October 4th, October 5th. Ryan's going to work every day. They'll come home. She goes to see her mom during the day while he's working. They come back at night. They have dinner, and they just enjoy being together, cleaning up the trailer. Well, one night on August the 19th, about 2.5 weeks later, they have dinner at Ryan's mom's house. They had a real good dinner that night together. They go back to the trailer to go to bed, and they're back in the bedroom, and they got the little puppy dog Tyson back there, and they go to sleep, and they're sound asleep. And it gets to be 1 o'clock, and they're in bed, they're sleeping. They're so happy to be together. They have no idea what's going on in the kitchen. The kitchen light is missing a 5-cent plastic wire nut. It's sparking. It's a high resistance connection. It's been doing that for a while. They didn't know about it. And over time, on this night at 1 a.m., it catches fire. And this trailer is so old. It's before the standards came out in the 1970s from the federal government. We got to have flame retardant stuff. Everything in there was a tinderbox. Aluminum siding, no fire retardant things, no smoke detector. It goes up in fire. It's catastrophic. The fire gets to 1,400 degrees heat. The kids are in the back, they're asleep. Smoke is billowing everywhere. They become intoxicated while they're asleep, disoriented. They have no idea what's going on. They feel the heat. They try to get up, choking, falls down. Michelle falls into the hallway, and they pass out. The trailer fire rages and burns and burns. It becomes an inferno. The next door neighbor has driven by, and he sees the truck out there, and he knows there's 2 people in there, but he can't do anything about it. He calls 911 frantically. "There's a fire! There's a fire! And I can't get them out. I know somebody's in there. I know those kids. Their truck is there. They're inside. Get here quick!" Fire company gets there. It's too late. Michelle and Ryan burned alive, choked to death, die of superheated smoke and soot inhalation. 18 and 20 years old. Because this defendant was too cheap to buy a $10 smoke detector and a 5-cent plastic wire nut from Home Depot. And because this defendant, whose duty was to protect the public, every code that governs him requires him to look after the safety of the public. Failed to do his job and just open the door and look on the wall to see there was no smoke detector. And as a result, these two families that I represented for 5 years, it's been a privilege and an honor, have lost the most precious thing that exists, their children. 100 years of living has just vanished from the history books, from the Holt and the Barr families. It can never be replaced. And we're here because this should have never happened. We're here because these two defendants refused to accept responsibility for what they did. We're here to prove to you, by a preponderance of the evidence, that these two defendants are legally liable and monetarily responsible for the tremendous damages and losses that these two parents have suffered through the loss of their children. Thank you very much.